All right. I got a countdown going on, and I think we're live and in the house tonight. Welcome to the GG Factor. What I'm so excited about tonight, I got one of my best friends in my neighborhood here with me tonight, Dr. Eric Shamus. Eric, how you doing, man?
We're doing great this evening. Thank you for having me on today.
Oh, man, it's my honor that you're in the house with us, and I'm just enjoying the moment. And most important, because what you're going to share with us tonight, you are a wealth of information. I'm excited about it, and I know that all those who are listening and viewing will walk away with a gift because, hey, you've done it for me. Your family's been in this business for a very long time. You are a practitioner in this field, and we need more people like you who want to educate our kids, man. I'm a retired 31-year teacher. You know that, and so I know you know where I'm coming from about the power of education. That's what we do on the GG Factor tonight. We're here to inspire you, to empower you, to take you to another level in terms of what you think you know about physical therapy.
Absolutely.
Dr. Shamus says, yes. He's the man. So when I stop his music and I ask you, that's very simple 3-letter word. It's very, very simple tonight. Yeah. See, you say you wouldn't hear the music. I heard it. That's always my signal. Hey, welcome. How you doing tonight? Thank you so very much for being with us, Eric.
Excellent. Thank you for having me.
Well, I tell you what, at the end of the day, Dr. Shamus is just back from the West Coast over there at Florida Gulf Coast University, where he's been for about 15 years now. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Yeah, man, that is really, really great. Well, little credentials about him before I actually give him the big why question. It appears he has his bachelor's degree from FIU here in South Florida. I think you did your master's at Lynn University, if I'm not mistaken. It appears you have 2 doctorates, unless I read your credentials wrong. Wow. Ed leadership and physical therapy. So right there alone, the man's a wealth of information. He's ready to share it tonight. He's been a professional in the field, man, on the collegiate level for well over 15 years now. It's a family affair with him. His wife, they're in the business together. They've been in this field for a long time. As a matter of fact, one of my quick little stories before we get started, always a little disclaimer. They helped me run the New York City Marathon over at Select Therapy, where his wife still right there in that office. And I can say to you, I remember like yesterday. And every time I take a walk, Eric, in the neighborhood, and I go over to the park and I do my little loop and I come back around and I look up, and I see Select Therapy. Matter of fact, on my social media, I've probably done, I'm going to be conservative and say maybe 3 or 4 reels about Select Therapy. I've unconditional marketing for you. I tell people, no, man. And honestly, if it wasn't for that, which I'm going to get into our questions tonight, that profession that you and your wife are in, your family, is far more than physical therapy, because once you get in and make the mind-body connection, it's night and day. So without further ado, I'm going to just say what I always say. What is your why tonight, Dr. Shamus? Why physical therapy? Why did you wake up one day and say, this is where I am, this is my passion, this is my purpose, this is my possibility? The floor is all yours.
Absolutely. Thank you, Greg. So when I was in high school, I really liked working. I liked the medicine side. I liked to help people. But honestly, I didn't like the sight of blood. So cutting and moving and the gore wasn't something I felt that I'd enjoy on a day-to-day basis. So I kept investigating into different types of healthcare and things that really helped more on the wellness side, the physical side, and being able to get people just to be happier in their everyday life. Right. And that's where I really came across physical therapy.
Oh, okay.
So in physical therapy, one of the things that you work on doing is you're trying to get the individuals to be able to move better. So if you look at the American Physical Therapy Association, one of their big mottos is get up, get moving. And it's really being able to be active. And that's really where myself and other physical therapists really focus on, is getting people to move a little better. And it could be from baby steps. It could be the ability to just be able to get up and out of a chair. It could be the ability to go back to work. It could be the ability for sports or recreation like yourself, as you're working on trying to accomplish the marathon, and different ways to get more flexible, get more stronger, get more confidence. And a lot of it is teaching people to be able to empower themselves to get better.
See, now I have to intervene right here because you're saying something that I totally concur with, because as I was just prepping this conversation through your introduction, a lot more of what goes on in physical therapy is not a physical component. It appears to be this mind-body connection. And if I'm not mistaken, because I know I've done 25 marathons, I always just kind of pop in and hold up one of my little medals and let people know that I've been there, I've done that, and I know the feeling about when the body and the mind are not connected. I know the feeling when there's always that fear of something still wrong that will leave us feeling apprehensive. So, that's probably one of the questions I'll just segue into right now. How much of the mental component works when you're in that process? Now, I know you're a professor, but I know you say you have worked in the area of expertise with physical therapy. I know your wife, that's her everyday job. But how much of that, when you're in your studies, as a practitioner, how do you infuse with your students to remind them about the mind-body connection when you're in the delivery of the services or PT?
Absolutely. And actually, some of the prerequisite classes our students have to take are actually in psychology, and we do a lot of motivation. So what happens is if you're coming and you might feel really bad that day, you might be in a wheelchair and you just don't want to stand up. And we have to be the rah-rah people, and we have to come and try to discuss, what the benefits are, why we need to get you moving. It's really being able to do a large percentage of motivation. And as we can motivate people to feel they could accomplish things, that's really half the battle. And then once we can get them to there, then the strengthening will come along and stuff like that. But they have to want to be able to get up out of the chair. They have to want to be able to cross that finish line.
Got it. Well, you know something? Here's the thing, and I guess I'm a case study tonight because I've been there, and I've been there a few times. And most recently, I did have a meniscus surgery, and very interesting. I went all pro right across the street from your wife's offices, took care of me, and Dr. Jesse Shaw, unconditional plug to those guys. But what was really interesting about my time, my 2 visits that I spent some extensive time in PT, I really have to commend, I don't remember the gentleman's name, unfortunately for me. I wish I could give him a plug. He really helped me, man, because I was going on that treadmill every day. I was very discouraged because I obviously felt I could run marathons for the rest of my life. I did 20 of them in 1 decade. I was so disciplined about just every year. I ran the Disney and I ran the Miami marathons. It was almost like it was a non-negotiable sort of lifestyle for me, to be honest. And, it was one of those things where you just felt like you just had to do it. I was hooked on it. And when I had that knee surgery, they said, well, we don't know if you're going to even be able to run again like you did, and let alone marathons. It was like, I kept saying to myself, this is a mind-body connection. I got to keep telling myself that I'll get and be able to run again. So what happened with me was the gentleman there that did the therapy for me, he had me on that treadmill, and he said, man, you can get out there and run. He said, I believe in you. I know you can do it. And I believed in him, and I trusted him. And you know something? I did. I got back out. I started to run again. And Eric, the most just uncanny thing happened to me. I was walking out of Publix over there, 184th and Pines, where I take my little water break. I went to take a break, came back, and I went to run again. And guess what? Kapow! It went out. And that's when I knew I felt defeated. I felt like, oh man, all my work. Because I did about, I'm going to say 6 weeks of therapy, a good 6 weeks to rehab the knee to the point where I would feel good that the muscles and all those things, which I want to ask you about from the internal aspects of it.
Sure.
But you know what? The thing we're talking about got me that, oh man, I can't. And as soon as I kept saying I can't, it took me probably, and that's why I want to just put it out there for people tonight. The fear monster always wants to win the game. The fear of failure, the fear of I can't, the uncertainty. So when you're telling me that your students, even before they really get into the actual coursework of physical therapy, they're doing mental health psychology classes. And guess what? I finally talked myself back into it. So, and one day I was just walking home and something said, you can run. I don't care what that was you went through. And that was probably about, believe it or not, Eric, the monster had me for about a month. I would just walk, ride my bike, and swim now that it's hot, right? And man, I took off and I ran 5 miles. And I haven't even tried to take that kind of risk and run like that again because I'll be honest with you, I'm just glad I'm functional.
For
But
sure.
then my point is that I just went past that obstacle, that obscure monster that was just knocking into me. So when you're doing this and you're talking to your students about it, and you all do you have case studies around that? Do you guys? That was one of my questions. How much of what you're doing in case study can you quantify from your work as a professor?
Absolutely. So what we actually teach what's called a problem-based approach. So what happens is they have some basics anatomy and physiology classes, but then after that, we actually go through case studies and we discuss them
Uh-huh.
because what has to happen is you have to be able to understand all the aspects. If you're trying to do a rehab with somebody who has a knee injury, well, do they have to go back to work? Do they have somebody to help them at home? Do they have stairs? Is this their first injury? They have other cardiovascular conditions. So you have to
Mm,
put the whole patient together, and that's why we do really case approach in our teaching. Because
mm,
it's great if you know how to bend the knee, but if you
mm.
can't work with the individual and explain to them why this is so important, and then try to idolize goals. Sometimes we'll ask patients, what do you really want to get back to? Some might say, I want to walk down the aisle with my son for his wedding, or I want to
Wow.
be able to walk and carry my grandbaby. So you have to try to relate things in the rehab to what they want to do. Because just like I can say, oh, so you could bend your knee more, like, well, I don't really need to bend my knee more. But if you could relate, say, hey, if we could do this, then you'd be able to sit in your favorite chair or your favorite couch and be able to get up and out easy. So a lot
Wow.
of it relating to the case approach and identifying how the patient can then visualize themselves doing that activity. And then we, as a physical therapist, my job then is to give them the small building steps to get there.
Wow, that's very interesting because of the heterogeneous nature of what you do and the level of diversity is just there's no unique case scenario, and I know that because it's my background is in exceptional student education, so we're dealing with kids with significant cognitive deficits. We're dealing with kids, who concurrently are EH, concurrently got Down syndrome, autistic. Just a lot of and there was no cookie cutter. And see what you just said to me. You know that, but when you just said that someone said, I just want to walk down the aisle when someone gets married, or I just want to be able to, take a walk down to the corner and back. And I saw a lady in the neighborhood, and it relates to what we're talking about. And I don't even know her name, but we had a conversation one day because her daughter went to West Brown High School where I did my last 11 years. And she was telling me that, hey, my daughter was telling me, man, that, she also was at Flanagan High School where I was for 16 years. But I watched this lady. She obviously had been through something physically. And she had a stroke. Miriam is telling me now. And Eric, I'm serious, to watch her relentless, just what I say, ability to say, I'm not going to quit. You would watch her, she running, she was running this race within herself because she would just walk a little bit, she stopped. And we always thought every now and then, because I'll be sitting in the pool area and I will see, I said, I wonder if she having some complications. What's going on? So I can concur with you about how and why to do it. So that's my next question to you, man, that what are the misconceptions? One of my questions about, how do I say it? Physical therapy from a pros and cons perspective. Some people are like, oh man, I don't want them tapping into me. I don't want to do this. And now, don't get me wrong, by default, like say if it was a very bad accident or someone's had bones broken and all, of course. But a lot of people need therapy, but they won't buy into the system of it. Why do you think that happens? Based on obviously your years of experience with this.
Well, what happens is a lot of people get into almost like a depression cycle. So they get injured and they're like, oh, I'm never going to be better. So they don't really think physical therapy will help. But just sitting on your couch, you're never going to get better. So you have to make the decision that I want to get better. Once you make that decision that you want to get better, then we can give you the tools of how to get the muscles stronger. We can give you the tools of how to work on your balance and proprioception. We could work on the tools to get you more flexible, to bring up the cardiovascular system. And probably one of the big misconceptions is, I could do this and then all of a sudden I'm instantly better. But people don't realize it's small incremental goals. If you could lift a water bottle day one, well, then maybe the next day we could go to 1 pound weight, then eventually 2 pound weight, then a 3. You're not going to go from a water bottle to lifting a 20-pound weight. And I think
Right.
people get the misconception that if they do this, they're going to be all of a sudden be strong. It isn't. It's just very incremental. If you do a little bit one day, you challenge the system. When you challenge it, that's when your body will respond. It's the same thing we talk about when people have like soft bones or osteoporosis. Just instantly your bones don't become strong. With day one, you got to walk a little bit. Day two, you walk a little farther. Day three, you walk a little more. Then you start carrying a little weight. And then slowly by slowly, you build. And I think probably the biggest misconception is that you could get better really fast, but it's all small steps.
And then you know something? It's not until you're a victim of circumstance that you got to dance in that party. You know what I mean? That in other words, for me, because I've had my personal interventions twice. What happened when I was still coaching cross country and still running a lot, and chin splints and all kind of things, and then my calf on my left. And my history of my whole running has been this left leg, a constant tug of war. But I'm here to tell you that it seems like the average person who needs to go into this therapy, you need to block off what, an average of about 6 to 8 weeks, no matter what. Is that like minimal time, you would say, no matter what the case study might be?
Yeah. So what ends up happening is usually within physical therapy, we'll usually see you, twice a week for maybe about 3 weeks. And that'll give you enough of a basis to start building. From there, then you probably need to do.
Oh, I lost him. Well, I don't know what happened to my man Eric there. I hope he pops back in. And I'm going to continue to keep the conversation rolling here. I think he's coming back. I see his name pops up. Dr. Shamus, are you back with me? Oh, he's rolling in. Well, what he was discussing was the timeline to see results when there are interventions going on. So I'm hoping that, I lost him altogether. I hope that he'll send me another link to get back in here. But what we were discussing tonight is this. He's in at the studio. Hey, let me see if I can get you back in. All right. Yeah, he was just talking about that.
Yep, I'm back.
All
So
right.
sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened, but we
It
got
was funny. I say, well, one of those unlikely things would happen, but you're back. And I'm glad. I said, hope we won't have a sustained loss of him. Good, you're back.
No, I'm not sure what happened there, but I just.
Yeah, we were talking about the 6 or 8 week cycle of someone coming in and needing what they need. And, see, that to me, it's almost a non-negotiable that you're going to have to go through to get to. That's the mindset that we have to have. I actually was listening to some Napoleon Hill today, and this is only just for me. Sometimes I'll just put on something that just hit me in the head, and man, everything that Napoleon Hill, the old guy Think and Grow Rich, the guy who worked with Carnegie and Ford and everybody who was somebody back in the early days, long before we were even thought about. Man, he just put a big ticket on what we're talking about. Your PMA. He said, man, everything about anyone's success in their life, and we're talking about physical therapy and rehab, but life is about a positive mental attitude. I'm just convinced, man. And the sooner you defeat those negative, pessimistic, just downgrading yourself type of mindset, all of a sudden, man, it's just amazing. What seems to be so difficult is not. Nelson Mandela said it. I say it every week on the show. It always seems impossible until you get it done.
Absolutely. So what ends up happening is, with the physical therapy, we can give you the guidance. And after about 3 weeks, we can put you on a good plan. Mm-hmm. You still need to do about that 6 to 8 weeks. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the clinic, but at least you have to keep going with it. Now, when we look at strength training, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to really get the muscle stronger. The first couple of weeks are more adaptation, more neurologic based, but to really start building muscle, it does take about 6 to 8 weeks. So that's really where we start to see some of our differences as we're working with individuals. And sometimes,
I'm sorry, go right ahead.
And sometimes it's microscopic improvements. Mm-hmm. So, when we work with individuals with spinal cord injuries, they might not be able to. The first couple weeks, it might take just to wiggle their toe just a little bit. And then it might take another 3 to 6 months to be able to get the foot to wiggle. So depending on the conditions, sometimes it's very, very small. But what you have to find out and get into a good mindset is you have to see what kind of goal is realistic and then see if you actually hit the goal. And if you hit it, you got to be happy about it. And then you got to set the next goal. And I think that's the most important part. There's some really good studies out there that talk about the mental health benefits of exercise. You get a release of endorphins. And when you get the release of endorphins, which you know from running, you start to feel a little bit happier. And when you feel happier, your soreness and aches kind of go away. And that's what happens when runners don't run. They lose their endorphins and they start to feel not as great.
Wow. I know you're yeah, I think it was one of my questions. I don't know if it's anywhere close by, but I know it's one of my talking points that I know you are an advent. You are just a non-negotiable cycler.
Yes.
You got how many bicycles, Eric? How many bikes I see in the garage?
In my garage right now, I probably about 13 or 14 different bikes from different styles, from electric bikes to fat tire bike to mountain bike to my bike I go to Publix on. So all different bikes.
13 bicycles. Miriam, do you hear that? 13 of them. I thought he was going to say maybe 7 or 8. You see now, that quantifies everything, man. You are all in. You know?
Absolutely.
And I'm using you as an example now. And I'll bounce back to me because the reason why I'm doing is we're both in that place where we found something that's part of our P3 theory from the physical perspective. And my P3 is always about passion, purpose, and possibility. When I discovered running, long before I even ran the first marathon, I realized that it became like an addiction. It became this non-negotiable thing when I was living back in my hometown, Tampa, just working as a full-time musician. I was just sub-teaching, traveling, and coming back home. And, I always had a job to go make a little money subbing. And a lot of the kids and everybody knew, and then they start seeing me running around Tampa like, hey, man, Gregory lost his mind, man. I see him all the way downtown. Then about an hour later, how could he make it? He was back in Ybor City in the area. And the point, I just got so into it but I never, ever thought about a marathon. You ever been to Tampa to the Gasparilla Classic that they have up there in Tampa, Florida? And it's always a 10K run. And that was my first thing that concurs with what you said. I set a goal. I made that a challenge. And you know something, man? It was funny. I remember running it in like 56 minutes. And I remember I'll never get looking. And I said, wow, I can do it. And you know what? That was the beginning of it. And for a very long time, I never even thought about a marathon. And as a head coach at Flanagan High School, Eric, I walked out my classroom one day and head coach Tapp Sassy, he's retired now. He was there with about, I want to say 35, 40 kids, man, roughly about a 60-40 ratio of boys and girls. And I'm already 41 years old. And the monster of apprehension was winning the game. And something inside of me said, yes, you can do this. And the point I'm making about that mind-body connection, and I finally said, hey, man, I think you might need some help out here, And guess what he did? He said, you're right. Your timing couldn't have been much better. And you know something? I started at school in 1996. I started coaching with them that same year. By January of 1997, Eric, I had been running 30, 40 miles a week with those girls. And the next thing you know, I was addicted. So I tell people, I don't know how did it happen with you with your cycling? What was the mantra? What of all the things you could do, swimming, running, cycling, basketball, football, what made you just I love getting on this bicycle? What was your aha on that?
Oh, absolutely. Because what happens is when you're home and you're sitting, or if you go from sitting at home to sitting in a car, I was like, I'm not being active enough. And that's really where I tell patients to be active. I tell them to, do your 10,000 steps a day, to go out, make sure you have good circulation, because you need to work. The body needs to be worked. People don't realize that when you're sitting, your body's not challenged. When your body's not challenged, your body starts to drop calcium in the bones. Right. And if you're not challenging, your muscles become weaker. Mm-hmm. So I said to myself, I really need to become more active. So my first bike was one that had a basket on it. And I said to myself, our grocery store is about 1.5 miles away. I said, I'm going to do all my grocery shopping by bicycle. And I
Wow.
did, and that worked great. And then from there, okay, when I go for lunch, what's great, I sit in a car, I drive there, I sit at lunch, I come back, I sit. Well, that's not very effective.
Right.
Especially, I really like cheesecake, so I'm a Cheesecake Factory fan, whatever. So,
Uh,
but that's like 1,400 calories. But if I ride my bike to Cheesecake Factory, eat the 1,400 calories and ride home, I'm almost like a net zero in the calories. So that's really where cycling became a part of my activity because I needed something.
wait, I gotta stop you. You say,
Sure.
wait a minute. Hey Maru, I don't know if you hear this. Dr. Shamus says, I ride my bike to the Cheesecake Factory. I burn off the calories, then I eat them right back, and I have no guilt. It's a zero by default, right? I love it.
Absolutely.
I love
Absolutely.
it. That is so. So, in other words, were you a kid cycler? I mean, were you like, like me? I've been an athlete all of my life, but I was never a runner. It's one thing to be an
Right.
athlete, but because we know that whole running world is another game, man. And I didn't realize that until I couldn't run 4 laps. I couldn't run that 1 mile, Eric. It would kick my ass. I couldn't do it. And I said, wow. We do the little things for football training. I played basketball. I was a pitcher in baseball, and I would swim a lot at the local pool. But I never had this to run. And when it did hit me one day, and I started doing it, which happened while I was at Florida A&M University. My sister went to FSU. That was my first challenge with running. So you'll understand, I had a moment of challenge within myself. And you mentioned as you seem to think that is the non-negotiable when it comes to, if you want to see results, there should be a goal. And I had that goal to run from FAMU over to FSU and back. It was kind of like that. And then that got to be so easy. And I say, and that was while I was still in college. Because see, right now, I'm a little disclaimer. They called me fat boy, man, when I was a freshman. I went from 150 in high school to about 180, man. Like right out of high school, I went to college. Everything just blew, and it blew up right here.
Freshman 15. The freshman 15.
It got me, man. And even though I've been all athletic, everybody have these different growth spurts. So what I want to ask you about right now is really critical to what we're talking about is from an age and should I say a sex cohort, just that perspective on how because we seem to be talking a lot about people who are older people who've been through this, who've been through that. But I'm gonna let you answer that question. And Maru just reminded me, I gotta remind them about the books and what's going on Thursday nights. But please, my question, I just happened to look at it. It says from an age and sex cohort perspective, your instructional publications that you deal with, are there more male or ages 8 to 18, or as far as you reflecting case studies? What are you seeing more of when it comes to adolescents and teenagers? Are you seeing more males? Are you seeing more of a female combination of what's going on with it? I know I saw a lot of it as a head coach in cross country. What do you see more of with that now?
Well, it's really interesting because what's happening now is we're seeing a lot of sports, but being earlier. We have the kids out and doing the Little League baseball. They're doing the Little League soccer. They're doing all these types. So we're starting to see some more injuries because the kids really just want to play versus but they need some background training so they don't get injured. So they might go out there and they're running, and we're starting to see like 16-year-olds, 7-year-olds tearing their knee ligaments, their anterior cruciate ligament, because they don't have developmental strength. So there's a lot more that we see people just participate versus training. So one of the things, if you have like a 12-year-old, a 14 or 16, and they love to play sports, make sure they're doing the training part to be able to build to it and not just the sport. We also see a lot of athletes, they just train baseball all year round. It used to be you did baseball for a little bit, then you played basketball for a little bit, you had cross training. So the lack of cross training and the lack of strength development seems to be the why we're seeing a lot more adolescent injuries.
Wow. So there is an increase on that. Well, I would think too, like my son Jonathan, both my sons play sports a lot, but I was able to watch Jonathan play very early on, like around 9 years old, 10. He got into basketball and soccer. And you know what? He never got injured until he got all the way to high school, man. all the way up to all the way, and then he stopped playing soccer and he only played basketball. But one of the things, especially with me as a head coach for cross country, stretching was so critically important. Now, what we're not talking about, and I want to make sure you can infuse this also, and not just speaking of this age cohort with teenagers and adolescents, but how are you, when you all are dealing with people, any age group, about the diet aspect of it? When it comes to, we our food is our fuel. I mean, that's why I don't eat pork and beef. I try to minimize my sugars, like holidays like this. Yeah, I want to have me some apple pie and some bluebell ice cream, but I'm not going to sit around and do it 5 days a week. I'm not going to, I don't eat fried foods. I just, what do you tell people, but from a rehab perspective, how does that play into you all's conversations once again to deal with, the mind-body concept of it?
Absolutely. And a good example we kind of talk to people about is if your car is not running great, people don't mind spending another 70 cents a gallon to put super in their gasoline versus regular. So if you're willing to spend a little more on your car to run better, why aren't you buying healthier foods? Why are you buying all this pre-made foods that are high in sodium and low in actual nutrition? So if people are willing to do it for their car, which you could actually replace, why won't they do it for a body? So when we talk to our patients, we talk to them that if they want to get stronger, they need protein for the muscle to build. You could do strengthening, but if you don't eat good quality protein, your muscles won't get stronger. So we have a really good conversation. A lot of them don't like to drink water. They drink coffee for breakfast, they drink soda in the afternoon, and then for dinner, they have a glass of wine. But your body needs the actual water to flush out the water fat solubles that we have.
It cannot live without it. It cannot.
Nope.
And it's funny, I'm always talking, just to intervene here, I'm always using the same metaphor and analogies to the reality of a car. I tell them all the time, man, none of my vehicles are brand new, but they've been maintenance well. They still run well. Matter of fact, I was out zipping off my Z car from LA Fitness the other day, and I was just telling people, just the way I maintenance this car, I just maintenance my body, and it's a non-negotiable. So speaking of that, I just realized, man, I can't believe it, and it's already 32 minutes, and I didn't mention anything about. I'm an author and speaker of these 2 books, and I want to offer them to anyone who's online with us tonight. Even if not, the episodes will be there. My website is called theactivator.net. Every Thursday night, I have a Strive Masterclass where, 30 days to a new you, Activate or Stagnate, both the books. You can have a choice of either one of them. I'm running a summer special that you can get into the Get Activated community, which means every Thursday at 7 o'clock. 2 days from today, I'll be live at 7 o'clock again. I might be a little later this Thursday because some of my old friends from college and the musicians, I was in the marching band with the FAMU, are having a special little function Thursday afternoon. So I might be a little late Thursday night, maybe 7:30, but guess what? That Strive Masterclass is a game changer about exactly what we're talking about. We're speaking about things from a physical perspective, but you are mind, body, and spirit. People ask me all the time, Greg, man, how could you run 25 marathons? How could you even have the ability to just run one of these and get this Miami out of the Miami or Disney medal I got here? I told them a lot of it was understanding that we have to live in balance. Balance is success. I don't care how you look at it. And Dr. Shamus, I don't know if you hear me like that. And I mean, you're very healthy. I see you all the time. You still look great. You're still taking good care of yourself. And we're adamant about it because we live it. You see me walking even when I can't run. The summers are great for me. I literally will go in the pool and swim about a half mile in the pool. And when I get out, man, there's something about that energizes the whole body. So on Thursday nights, I want to share mind, body, and spirit concepts with you. You can win this book. You can win this book. You can come into the camp. It's only $49.99. There's a link in the comments there. You can click that link. But remember, theactivator.net is my website. Come on in, join the Get Activated community. If you want even more micromanageable, coaching will be my 30 days to a new you, maximum potential coaching. And it is a step-by-step guide to activate peak performance. we're in the house tonight with Dr. Eric Shamus. I've known him for well over 2 decades myself. His wife and him, a combination of 25 and 25, I want to say for 50 years of physical therapy. Where were you born, Eric? Where's your hometown? Where are you originally from?
So I was actually born in New York, just outside New York City. And then the grandparents moved down to retire in South Florida. So my parents were like, well, we might as well go with them. So then I did kindergarten over in Aventura, Highland Oaks Elementary, Highland Oaks Middle. And then we moved out west and I went to Western High School. And then from there I went to FIU.
You blanked on me a little bit. And now what brought your parents to Florida from New York? What brought them? Was it work?
No, my grandparents decided to retire in South Florida. So my parents are like, well, if they're going to go live in paradise, we might as well too.
Hello. Okay, well, you know what? I'm sure you don't regret that move.
No, that worked out perfect for me. I was in warm weather.
I lived in Newark, New Jersey for about 6 months. I got my business degree from Florida A&M University that June back in the 70s. And I really just had this dream to be nothing but a professional musician, man. You know, and I'm blessed that I'm still in the entertainment industry. I still go out and perform, but I put my degree on the shelf, man, jumped on the back of a U-Haul truck and went to New York City. And I tell people, if you have passion and purpose, the universe will give you possibilities. And let me tell you something, man. We stuck it out. But as soon as the wintertime came, Eric, everybody said exit stage south. And we had to break camp. We couldn't take it out. Our guitar player at the time, his family, literally took care of us, man. They gave us a home to live in. They fed us meals every day. We started writing our own original music. And that was one of the greatest times of my life because 6 months later, I had a recording deal. I started to open for people like Marvin Gaye, Betty Wright, Casey and the Sunshine Band. That was a record company I was with down in Miami. And let me tell you, man, I'm like you, from leaving Tallahassee, going straight to Jersey and being a Floridian. I said, no, man, I can't live like, and none of us, 7 other musicians and my sister, we all jumped on the back of a U-Haul truck, man. You're talking about grinding, you're talking about hustling, and you know something, we didn't care about it. It wasn't until the wintertime came, and we just, you know what, man, I don't like cold weather.
Me neither.
The feeling of it. I went to Chicago one Christmas and I said, how do people live like this? I went to perform in Canada a couple of weeks, and then I went in the summer and I said to myself, wow, what a difference in Montreal, Toronto, Quebec City. When we went during the winter months and we would go on our Christmas breaks from college and make that good money, but man, it was unbelievable. So we're spoiled.
Yeah, you need sunlight to help with all your vitamin D. You get into the dark, cold months, people go into weather depression. I mean, it's a real thing where people, you don't see blue skies and you get depressive over the cold weather. So I like to live in warm weather. I'm out bike riding every single day of the year, walking, jogging, whatever it might be. But it's all about being active. You need to be active every day.
Paradise. That's all I can say. Matter of fact, 2 weeks ago, his name is Gabriel. I can't call his last name because it's a long, drawn-out name, but he has a Center Paradise. And unconditional plug to him again. He was just here a few weeks ago. Matter of fact, his episode is still there for our viewers and for you, Eric, to just go out and check him out because it's called Center Paradise because, like he said, the same thing. I just want to be here. He has his 2 sons. They've never been sick. He's a very homeopathic, organic type of guy. What is it, Maru? Manuka honey that he gets over. I'm sure you go over there to the nutrition spot, right? Well, I ran into him in the nutrition spot, man. And the point we're making is that we were talking about this being such an ideal place in the whole world, man, to just come because it's just it is really, of course, the summers they're murder, but I'll take a hot summer like this than a rigid winter any day, man, because it's just too much. So I will say this to you. I have a couple of other questions that I need to get to that are really very, very, how do I say this? I know you're in a hybrid profession. You're a professional. You work at home. You drive over to Fort Myers and come back. And I mean, how open are you to the whole should I say, AI movement as a professor or your kids? We're going to shift the gears a little bit about you as a professor right now and micromanage. How do you deal in the classroom? How do you utilize AI with that? Are you like one of those diehard professors? Hey man, turn that phone off. We don't. Are you one of the ones that, hey, open up your phones? Let's go over here to Google. And how do you deal with that, man?
Yeah, so we're actually working with our students to be able to utilize AI for learning purposes. So what happens is, for example, I have a PowerPoint presentation. So, some people could sit through the PowerPoint, they like to look at the visual, and that's one type of learner. But what we do now is we take the PowerPoint, we put into Google LM, and it makes a podcast out of it. So kind of like what we're doing here today. And then what it does is then they can listen to the podcast while they're working out. So we're utilizing AI to be able to adapt the learning to different types of learning styles. You could go in and take the PowerPoint and say, write me an essay for health professions. So then they could sit and they could read it in different formats. So we're using AI to try to adapt to different learning styles. That's one way. Then the second way is we give them the PowerPoint, they put into AI and say, generate me 20 multiple choice questions. And then the students then could then go in and practice questions so that when they're ready for the test, they feel more prepared. Because if they go through questions and they're able to answer them, then they'll feel more comfortable when it actually comes to the exam. Because a lot of times students have nervousness because they study, they've never taken the quiz, and all of a sudden they have a quiz and they're nervous. But to get rid of the nervousness is you practice over and over. So we like AI. Where we don't like AI is when we give a quiz and they have the AI answer the questions. That we don't allow.
That is where this is where I had to jump in now. It sounds to me like you're an advocate of it. You support. Now you said something that I found very interesting because we're definitely on Chat GPT. I mean I'm definitely doing it. It helps me out with some of the things I drafted or fine tuning and all that good stuff. And it's good, even on my PowerPoints with Copilot or whatever AI Copilot, whatever they call it. But you just said something that I didn't think about. You're telling me that you'll have a PowerPoint presentation, and then they will actually recreate it as a podcast, a visual podcast.
Yeah, Google LM. So it works fantastic. So if you have let's say you have a research article. Well, you get through half the research article, your eyes are blurry, you can't read half of it. So then you put it into the podcast feature, the Google LM, it changes it into a discussion podcast. So that when you're driving, you're bike riding, I'm hoping you're doing activity, which you haven't noticed, that all the learning needs to be multi-aspect. Because if you're sitting there and you're bored and you're in front of a book and you're trying to read something, your body's not stimulated. What we find where the students really learn the best is if they're walking, listening to the podcast. They're walking on a treadmill, listening to the podcast. Then they do great. Or they're in the gym and they're actually lifting weights, listening to it. Because if you just sit there and listen, well, your body's not being stimulated. Your endorphins aren't being activated. So we try to use that. So they take the PowerPoints. They also take book chapters. So you could take a book chapter, put it in there and say, make me a podcast. So they can actually listen to the book while they're working out.
This is amazing, man. Now, you know something? I would almost beg to differ from what that perspective you've just given us, Dr. Shamus, that you're telling me kids are learning more by the element of movement concurrent with the delivery of the information that's being rendered. If you're telling me they can be like an LA Fitness working out, and they're going to get more from listening to a podcast than they would if they were just sitting stable in a place with no that. I mean, have you been able to quantify that?
There are some really good research studies out there that look at neural activity while doing basic walking and jogging and stuff like that. And it's much more successful. You have much more longer term memorization with it. What happens is a lot of kids have attention deficit disorders. So what happens is they can't sit there and concentrate. But if they're walking something that doesn't really take a lot of cognitive thought, if you're just walking, you're not necessarily thinking about, well, I have to put one foot in front of the left, I have to put the next. Then you could actually focus on the learning part. So if it's something that takes a really high level activity where you're playing basketball and you're trying to look for somebody and you're trying to see who's getting open, that's too much of a stimulus to be able to learn on top of. But if it's something that's light, repetitive, walking, swimming, jogging, bicycle riding, then it works actually pretty perfect. Stretching, a lot of people, when they're doing the meditation, they could put their headphones in, they're doing their stretching activities, and they could concentrate on their learning. And that way they learn a lot better that way, especially with individuals with attention deficit disorders.
What I find interesting, because I'm only listening to you and I'm thinking about myself, I noticed that now one thing, I enjoy my walks much better. Sometimes it's just me, myself, and I'm just in that kind of state of mind. But when I do put on inspirational music, you know, if I'm playing some BBCC Winers or just someone who just, you know, Marvin Sapp or any one of these people who I got this inspirational, you know, playlist of just, and I noticed that you forget about the physical aspect. You're right. You just kind of lock into it. Now I don't know why, but when I'm in doing weights or doing something else, I still can do that. But it's almost like I'm trying to stay more in touch with the physical than I want from a cognitive stimulation or relaxation from it. So I think that is very interesting. That I think just from a walking and cycling perspective, I think it would probably be great that they can definitely forget about what they're doing physically and just get the stimulation. But the fact that, you know, you just, what am I thinking? Is nothing AI can't seem to do. You know, there was a study the other day on the CBS This Morning. We stay home and don't get out on church on a Sunday and do religious things from the TV. I love CBS This Morning. It's just one of the most informative stations, and right after that, Face the Nation and all that good stuff about what's going on around us. But this Sunday just passed, they had a very deep conversation segment about AI and the impact right now and on ChatGPT. And he put in a subject, man, and within 10 seconds, a complete outline. I don't remember even what the subject was, but he just said, give me an outline on our personal development. And he looked around, you know, man, and you can see, I don't know the commentator's name that was there, but you know, Jay Paul is one of the main hosts, but he was like, you could see in this man's face, like, how can that be? So it sounds to me like, you know, just like I've had to do when I was in the classroom myself, it's a technology age. You can't get around it. And kids are going to get bored with people just talking to them a lot. And you said this too, there's a heterogeneous nature of people and their learning modality. That part of it, I had to, obviously, dealing with special needs kids, we really, and you really had to customize. And I'll tell you, only for maybe, I'm going to say, I was at Coconut Creek High from 96 to 2000, from 92 to 96. The only thing I can remember about that, and it's so relevant to this, is the all-in-one box from Steve Jobs. You remember that all-in-one? And I'm not that computer literate. I wasn't really into, oh boy, I don't want to deal with computers. And my point is, we were doing microfilm that you roll on this thing back then, and at FAMU in the 70s, and you come forward and you look at what the access that kids have now. And even when I fast forward and go over to West Broward High, not even as much at Flanagan as it was West Broward High, the level of technology, the STEM programs, even for our special needs kids and the access, man, it is literally incredible. So I would think that it really impacts your job as a professor. Does it obviously sound like it makes it a little easier to have access to data that's relevant? You know, you can't really beat that, I'm sure.
Right. And we see it sometimes even with our patients, because we might go and give them a couple of exercises and they get bored of them. So they can put in that exercise and they can pull up some other exercises that are similar to make it more fun. Add a ball, add a towel, add a rubber band or a stretch band. So that we use it also to try to get to find ways to make it more interesting for patients, and they could change their activities with it as long as it's safe.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, man, it's been about 50 minutes. I can't believe it. Obviously, I was going to try to cap off around usually 40, 45 minutes. But the information you shared tonight, I don't know if there's anything I missed here. Now I'm going to ask you, you're in the classroom. Have you and your wife ever worked together in your profession? Have you all, have you ever went in and been of assistance at, like, say, select therapy? Have you worked through most of your career? You've been mostly a classroom professor. I'm right about that, right?
So I actually have been practicing. I graduated physical therapy in 1992. So
Okay.
I'm about 33 years. So I did about 10 years first, outpatient orthopedics. I worked at mostly sports medicine. Then I did some volunteering with some of the professional sports teams. And then from there, I slowly got into the academic side. I really liked being able to teach students. And the reason for that is when you're working with a student, I could teach a group of 30 that will then help, 40, 50 patients a day versus me being able to only help one patient a day. So
Right.
that way it finds that I'm able to spread the information, and then I have a good aspect of trying to make it practical so they can understand it. And that's really one of the reasons why I went into academics.
So I'm glad you answered that question. I was just curious because I've only known you as a professor,
Yep.
and I didn't know if you started with the hands-on component of being there. Because I actually love the physical therapy, even speech therapy when I've had
Uh-huh.
throat modules and had to go through all of that. I mean, those professionals who micromanage you and the exercises they give and what they do, it's just really, and you say something so important too about being an educator. You are empowering many versus one.
Right.
And now, are your programs 4-year degree programs, or 2-year, or over at the Gulf Coast? How long are the programs?
Absolutely. So nationwide physical therapy is the same. You have to have a 4-year degree first. So
Mm-hmm.
most of our students get a bachelor's like exercise science, biology, chemistry, physics, one of those first. And then physical therapy school then is about 2.5 years. Some programs are 2, some programs are 3, but between 2.5 years to 3 years, and then you get your doctorate degree. So physical
Wow,
therapy now in the United States, to become a physical therapist, it has to be at the doctorate level.
it has to be.
Yes.
Wow. So what do you attribute that to? That by default you must attain the doctorate for it. Why is it just because of the amount of knowledge you need, or do you think they're incompetent, or what would be the reason why someone who goes through a 4-year program they wouldn't even be allowed to start a practice at all?
Correct. So what happens is in physical therapy, you might come to me and say, "Hey, my shoulder hurts." And okay, I learned in school I can mobilize the shoulder, I could do this. But what happens is, as a physical therapist and all other practitioners that you see now have really moved to the doctorate level. Pharmacology now is all at a doctorate level, optometry is all at a doctorate level, even podiatry used to not be at a doctorate level, chiropractors at a doctorate level, because we need to be able to differentially diagnose to make sure that your shoulder pain is not coming from your heart. So that takes
Oh,
quite a bit of time to be able to understand the entire human body. Now, if you come to me, I'm not going to be a physician and tell you what's going wrong with your heart, but I need to be able to recognize the symptoms of what is for physical therapy and what I need to be able to refer out to. So if you came to me and I'm working on your knee, but then you're having numbness and you're having some other issues that might actually be from your back area, I need to be able to recognize that and then refer you to another practitioner. And that's why all physical therapy now is at a doctorate level. You can come see me directly. So as a physical therapist, we have direct access. But what ends up happening though is we need to be able to recognize when we need to refer. And that's why everybody's at a doctorate level.
that's incredible. Because I don't know if you ever heard of Markson chiropractic or not. Eric Markson, man. He's been a game changer for me. I religiously go get a spinal adjustment monthly, and then an adjustment just beyond that. There's a machine I lie on for, because from all the 25 marathons, a bass guitar on my shoulder. I mean, you name it, I've got a whole bunch of things going on that impact my physicality. But I did not know that you cannot even get in practice. You can. So they treat physical therapy, OT, chiropractic care, all of those people, all of them have to have a doctorate now to really
So
open practice.
So chiropractic, yes. Physical therapy, yes. Optometry, yes. Occupational therapy is split right now. So there are
Oh,
a few schools that still offer a master's, but the
right.
majority now have moved to the doctorate degree. And within a couple of years, all occupational therapists will also all be doctorates.
Wow.
Mhm.
Well, and because of my profession and all of the kids needing that therapy, I work with a lot of OTs and PTs, and then speech therapy was another one, So we've been hands on, and it's very interesting, man, because style is style when it comes to being a
Sure.
practitioner of education and how you deliver and facilitating information to kids. And I'm finding that across the board, even in your profession and other ones, because when I've gone to certain people for PT there, I have a certain style that they approach me with. Then there's this other person another way. And teaching was the same way with teachers. And I'm sure you can say that about being a student yourself, how important just being, totally, should I say, just grounded in a good foundation and having a system of delivery that works, because that foundation, man, let me tell you something. Like I said, I never made a fortune as a teacher, but I know I made a difference. And sir,
That's it. That
I'm,
is your
I'm,
fortune. Your
I'm gonna
fortune
click
is
my
that you.
music. Yep. And say to you this, that I want to thank you for being with us tonight. I
My
know
pleasure.
that, at the end of the day, you could have been anywhere doing anything, but you chose to come to the GG Factor. You chose to come in and hang out with us tonight. And I know you can't hear my music, but it just kicked back in. It gives me a little pep to say, hey, man, I appreciate you. You shared so much. Your insights tonight were priceless, and your episode will be up. I will make sure that you get a downloaded copy of it. I'm sure your kids will, your students, I don't want to say your personal kids, but your students, I hope some of them were able to take away tonight because, hey, you open up the whole cocktail, man,
Absolutely.
Thank you
Keep
so much.
inspiring, keep empowering everybody. I love what you do. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Hey, man, my pleasure. And it won't be the last time. I'm going to probably catch you running around the corner about 3 months from now. And, hey, what you doing, man? In other words, sir, Dr. Shamus, you're always welcome on the GG Factor. Till the next time, be blessed, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, my friends, I got to tell you like this, man. Man, what a great, great night with my neighbor, Dr. Eric Shamus. He just gave me some insights that I could never, ever, ever imagine. So, and I say that with deepest sincerity. I will tell anyone, you can never get too much education about your body and your physicality. You cannot get too much education about the mind, body, and spirit connection. I'm going to do another unconditional plug about what I'm doing here, obviously, with the GG Factor, is to inspire you, to empower you, to inform you, to educate you. But on Thursday nights, I want to really hit home again that maybe you need help with your morning routine. Maybe you need help with understanding, are you able to monetize your passion? Maybe you need help with understanding the critical components in mind, body, and spirit development, mind, body, and spirit functionality. I believe it's just, to me, the reason why we have more people who are going in hospitals, 1 million people here in Broward County, and this is nowhere near where it was for other people all around this country. And Dr. Shamus said something that was so critically important, and we talked about it. Everybody's not fortunate to be here in beautiful South Florida. So there are limitations, there are constraints, there are obstacles, there are things that get in the way of people being able to maximize their potential in terms of who they are in mind, body, spirit, and especially taking care of yourself physically. So tonight, because we had a physical therapist on who actually worked in a practice for about 10 years or more of his life, and this is back almost, it was a long time ago. He actually started his work in physical therapy, Dr. Shamus, when I started my work in the field of education, 1992. He did about 10 years in it, and I have to commend him. He continued to expand his cognitive abilities to earn 2 doctorates. So I should say doctor, So at the end of the day, I want to thank you guys so very much for being with us tonight. I'm going to spend just a few minutes with you right now about things that I think are critically important to you. I want to open my book, and I said to myself that there's a page in this book that's very, very important to me, and it's simply the beginning of the book. It's the same as the title of my book. It's called Activate or Stagnate. And it's about what we did tonight with Dr. Shamus. It's about the action that you have to take to, first and foremost, take an analysis of where you are in mind, body, and spirit. Do yourself a favor. It's priceless. When you take a pre-analysis of your habits about how do you take care of yourself physically? How do you take care of yourself mentally? How do you take care of yourself spiritually? How do you get the recipe right and then live in balance? And my PERT questionnaire, what page is that in my book? Past all of the acknowledgments and intros, the official page 3 in this book is a personal empowerment analysis. And on every Thursday night, my Strive Masterclass, we take that analysis for you. We help you to understand where's your functionality right now? What are you doing right now? How are you living from a mind, body, and spirit perspective right now? I've dedicated my life right now to inspire people, but to also be an advocate from a humanitarian perspective for people to just be healthier in mind, body, and spirit. I'm always asked that question, man. How could you start running marathons? You already over 40 years old. How could you run an entertainment company, be a teacher full-time, become a real estate investor, become just an entrepreneur, and still get out there and train and run 2 marathons a year for a decade to run 20 marathons in 10 years? Balance. I believe in the 30-day concept. I truly believe in this concept. They have quantified how much you can do in your life in exactly 1 month. That you take the analysis. This is a step-by-step guide for you to do what you need to do. I want to read this from my book, but I just wanted to bring this up that this is what it's about, time management. Before I read this page to you, before I shut down every week now, I was told by one of my mentors, hey, man, you should share a few things about what's going on with your book, what you're doing there, how do you make it work. I'm going to go to page 6, and I want to read this to you because I think by reading this to you directly from this book, you might want to go out to Amazon.com and get your copy, or go over to theactivator.net and order the book, because let me tell you something, man, this tool can change your life. It will get you off the bench of procrastination. It will get you into a place of action. Page 6 says this. The book is entitled Activate or Stagnate, and it's the first one of the GG factors that's in my book. You activate or stagnate. In each of us, it's an infinite amount of energy to reach our maximum potential. Not realizing it is like having an engine running, but never putting the gear shift in drive. It's like having an engine running, but never doing what? Putting the gear shift in drive. You got to activate your thoughts to drive onto the highway to success, or you will simply stagnate from procrastination. When you awake, you have to awake the energy within you by simply giving more to be more. Activate or stagnate. Nothing happens if you don't take action. Nothing happens if you don't take action. If you need to lose weight, if you need to gain weight, or if you're in a job that you're stagnated on, if you have no time for yourself spiritually, you're living with what I call organized chaos. And let me tell you something, that imbalance will soon be just like a car. If you don't tune it up, you're going to shut down. I'd like to offer you a copy of this book, because that one page 6 right there that I just read, that one page right there is a game changer. This to me tells me when people identify with problem areas and they go in and micromanage themselves, it's a known fact. When you micromanage yourself better and you go to your job or you go to your business, to the macro, you grow. Micro, remediate the weak areas, get deeper retention, there's better recall. You go to the macro, you go to your job, you become a better version of yourself. You determine that you can activate a different identity about yourself. That's my job on Thursday nights. I want you to come out. The first 5 people come out to my Strive Masterclass on Thursdays. I always tell them, if you type in the word activate in the chat and you're in the Zoom, you've got to DM the word Strive on Instagram. Speaking of Instagram, Miriam, you didn't remind me. I'm looking for a few more followers on my IG. Gregory_Griffith on Instagram will help you. Let me help you by following me. Let me help you by following me. I want some more followers. I need those followers. They're mandating a new site of, should I say, a new mandate over there on Instagram. So I have to continue to get people coming in. So unconditional plug every Thursday night, the Strive Masterclass. Come on in. But right before you come in, go over to Gregory_Griffith. Hit that, should I say, follow me link on my profile. And hey, I'll tell you what, it's a game changer. I'm going to read this page because I said I'm going to every week read the GG factor that relates to what I just read about activate or stagnate. You see, in life, we have a way of making excuses for why we don't seek to reach our maximum potential. How many times have you had an idea that requires just a little bit more of your time and your focus? How many, my friends? How many? Woo. Instead of working to bring your idea to fruition, you just constantly transform all your pre-existing obligations into insurmountable obstacles to your growth. Insurmountable obstacles to your growth. In other words, we talk ourselves out of it. That's why sometimes you need a mentor. For maybe the last 30 years of my life, on and off, I've worked with mentors. I wouldn't be on this GG factor tonight if it wasn't for the inspiration of a mentor to say, I think you can do this. Let's set this up. And you know something? I'm so grateful that I listened, because the fear, the stagnation, the procrastination will stop you from being just on the other side of the success story that you want to be. You're always closer than you think. And lack of focus will be the one thing that will pull you further and further away into the gloom room of fear. Misery loves company. Being indecisive loves company. I'm going to tell you this. I know this because I was a victim of the same circumstance. I worked my job and came home to a routine regimen until I realized that life offered me, Gregory Griffith, more than the comfort zone of an 8 to 5. It wasn't just the fact that I wasn't making enough money teaching. I just always felt there was a little bit more I could do with my life to maximize my potential. Remember what I said about activate or stagnate. You got to pull your life and drive. You got to say, yes, I can. Yes, I will. Yes, I must. And you must trust the process. Because let me tell you something, the fear of failure, the enemy of defeat, the lack of confidence in yourself, the inability to remain persistent and consistent will just wipe you clean. It will wipe you clean off the slate. You will stay in a job you don't like. You'll stay in a relationship you don't like. You look at yourself every day. Instead of saying you're awesome, you're amazing, you are uniquely designed to create your own working paradigm. You, oh man, look at that. And that right there, right here, your mindset is everything. I wear the shirt on Thursday nights a lot of times just to remind people. And I was listening to Napoleon Hill today, and I'm going to say that with all due respect. Boy, he fired me up. I don't think I can stop and ever get tired of what the man said about your positive mental attitude and your aura. And what I want to do is help you create a winning mindset so that your aura, your aura, when you walk in the room, it comes in before you do. You walk in like a game changer. You walk in like you own the room because your energy exudes that. Not pessimism, not negativity, not doubt, not uncertainty. And the only energy that reigns with that is the enemy of the enemy. The energy of the enemy. The energy of the enemy will always win if you allow it to take residence. Because you have the choice. What comes between your ears and what you process is totally up to you. This book is a game changer for taking you away from that. And I've been there before so many times in my life. I bought millions of dollars in real estate. And I remember when I didn't think I could buy even one house before I ever rehabbed the first property. before I realized I had more knowledge than I thought I did because of what? The fear of failure. It's always there. It's going to always lurk at you. So I hope tonight we had a physical therapist on, but I'm talking to you about mind, body, and spirit. I'm talking about my first page that said, activate or stagnate. That's exactly what it came down to. So here's what I'm going to tell you that I read at the last part of this page that I have to share with you. I'm sure you have a daily routine which you can what? You just don't feel you can deviate from without creating what? A conflict with your family, with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband or your wife, a manager, or just your neighbor next door. But sometimes you have to take a serious look at where are you and determine is it where you really want to be in life from the physical, mental, and spiritual perspectives. This is one of the first pages in my book. I did that. I realized life offered me more. I wouldn't have these two books if I didn't have that kind of mindset. If I didn't understand out of 24/7, 168 hours a week that I could carve out the next level. I realized that I was not functioning at my maximum potential. Why do you think I started running these bad boys? I started running these marathons. It wouldn't have happened. It never, ever would have happened. I would have been stuck because I'm telling you, the fear monster will win the game of your what? Your inability to keep that PMA activated. Listen to this. The foundations for success in life to obtain and maintain a balanced lifestyle, they lie within those three areas of your mind, body, and spirit. That's the hidden obscurity that most people don't get. They don't seem to believe in that concept. They live with imbalance. They live with organized chaos for most of their adult lives. I'm telling you. They admire other people who got this great looking physique. They love Halle Berry. They love Denzel Washington. They love all these beautiful people who are out here. I know we're all in awe of the actors. We're all in awe of the athletes. But you should be in awe of you. And activate or stagnate will do that. This book, this title will do that. If you get an action plan in your life, a non-negotiable action plan that you stick with, and every 30 days, like my other book says, every 30 days, man, you just find a way that I can take this analysis. I can do this. I'm offering you an opportunity on Thursday nights. I'm going to run it right on through Labor Day, right on through probably Halloween, right on through probably until Thanksgiving. I want you to come into the camp. It's only $49.99. The link is right there in the chat. All you got to do is click that link or go to my website, theactivator.net, click the Get Activated community, and come on in. This book has 4 weeks of commitments, a 30 days to a new you witness that you sign yourself, you witness it with someone, and just give me those 4 weeks. Come into the camp, give me the 30 days to a new you challenge, and I tell you what, it'll be exactly what I just read from my book to you. It's non-negotiable to live in balance. It's non-negotiable. Because if you don't, something gonna break down. If you're stuck in a job that you don't like, but you stand there because the money good, or you stand there because you can just go out the door like I did for the last 10 years of my life. Went out my door, went through my gate, went up to the fence, went up to the gate, turned right at the corner, go up to the light and turn left and went 1 mile, and I was at work. Man, I could still be there right now. My teaching certificate is still active. But something inside of me said, how about Freedom's Gate, Gregory Griffith? How about taking a shot on your intellectual properties? How about taking a shot on your intellectual properties? How about it? How about it? How about saying that you want to do that? Somebody I'm talking to tonight, before we get off the air, need to monetize your passion in mind, body, and spirit. You need to find something that you can do. You forget about the money. You just love to do it. You just want to do it. And you know what? It'll take care of you. I promise you that. And if you don't, and you continue to be apprehensive, uncertain, living with the establishment, staying in the comfort zone, like I just read it in my book, it wasn't until I realized I could step out the comfort zone, life offered me more, And one day it happened. I decided I wanted to speak. I decided I wanted to be an author. I was a full-time musician before I became a teacher. And it took a bad gig one night. It took a bad situation from an agency. It took somebody pulling the plug on me for something I had no control over. And that's when I said, no more in my life. Somebody I'm talking to like that right now. You feel like you just stuck in that job that you know you want to get out of. You're looking at yourself physically knowing there could be a better version of you. Are you spending the time in quiet retreat to yourself? Do you know that all the power you could ever muster in your life is nowhere in your external world? Did you know that? That your greatest strength is going to come from you developing your spiritual muscle? All I've had to say is God first, and I will not leave my house without doing that first. Stop, be still, and spend time in spirit. And when you do, you're going to find this to happen. You will not be no longer a procrastinator. Your fear of apprehension will no longer take charge over you. You'll find a way out of no way. I'm only using me as an example. I've never said I'm extraordinary. I probably have done a few things you might call extraordinary, but I've never felt like that. Holding this book in my hand, running 25 marathons, buying millions of dollars in real estate, getting a master's degree, getting up every Saturday morning for 52 weeks straight when I didn't feel like it. And a lot of times you're just not going to feel like it. You're just not going to feel like it. It says here, procrastination is a major reason for stagnation of the mind, body, and spirit. And that's usually what it is. You start something, you stop. You start something, you stop. You start something, you stop. No, man. Get activated. Stay activated. Get your action plan. Carve out some of those 24/7, 168 hours a week, and you'll understand that it'll happen to you. I say it right here. Don't be a victim of circumstance like I was. I started to eat healthier foods, exercise on a regular basis, set challenging realistic goals to advance my position in life, and I consistently seek to grow from the spiritual perspective from my belief that faith works. That's directly from my book tonight. I quantified that. I wouldn't have wrote it and put it in this book if I didn't live by this premise. It's been out of sight tonight. I want to thank you guys so much for being with us. Just like I started and stopped it again, I'm going to start it tonight and kick it in again. Until next Tuesday, until the next time that we can get out here and make this work, I want to say I hope that I'll see you on Thursday night, that you're coming to the Scribe Masterclass, that you can make this work, because at the end of the day, you are the captain of your ship. Thursday night, 7 o'clock, Strive Masterclass. All you got to do is DM the word Strive on IG and you're in. Or go to theactivator.net, click the Get Activated community, you're in. I didn't mention it, but I did say this also sometimes. Beyond just getting the $49.99, I do offer personalized coaching. I call it my maximum potential coaching. And I do it on a 30 days to a new you maximum potential coaching basis. That means every month you got me, and you got me on a weekly basis every month. If you come into the community with like-minded people, you get me once a month. It is a decision that you would have to make. Sometimes we all need a mentor. So until the next time, my friends, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you so very much for being with us. Spread the word that the Activators in the house on Thursday nights. Spread the word that the Activators in the house on Tuesday nights. I meant to tell you, my wife keep reminding me, I do want more followers on IG. I want to keep that live stream going. I'm on all the platforms. I'm on IG, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube tonight, as you all know. But I'm on TikTok also, but I want to get more people to come into that Instagram community. Because if you follow me, I'm going to inspire you. If you follow me, I'm going to empower you. If you follow me over there, you're going to get the tools necessary and join the community, and you can definitely, without a doubt, get a copy of this book.